So yeah, we're talking about Speckle workflows at Perkins&Will. It's not quite correct in a way, I guess. We're really going to be talking about how we implement Speckle on kind of our day-to-day basis. So how we get Speckle on every single team, how our architects, our designers are using Speckle without all of that kind of computational knowledge that maybe we expect everyone to already have. So it's quite a good way of saying, this is a project that we've just started, how do you get it set up? And then after about, I think halfway through the presentation, we'll start talking about some of the hackathons that we've been working on, and we've worked on quite a few with Speckle this year. So yeah, let's get to it. My name's Adam Burnham. I work at the digital practice team at Perkins&Will. I've also got a background being a BIM lead and a computational designer as well. I was really fortunate this year to go to the AEC hackathon in Zurich. We created an APS Speckle connector. So we created a website where you can upload your BIM 360. You connect your BIM 360, you click one button and it automatically converts into Speckle, which was awesome. And when we created an app on top called Boom, you'll see the presentation by Christian tomorrow. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about what that application actually is. And then later we created an app called Arc, which was part of the Speckleverse hackathon. And I'll go into more detail about that after.
Hello, I'm Jordana. Just for your knowledge, we are going out of the script with this presentation, just because most of the things that we brought to present today were presented in the keynote or in other presentations. So we're going to try to focus in the projects that were not previously presented, such as the ones in the hackathon. And if we have time at the end, possibly I can go deeper in AI to Speckle and Ecomatic, which we don't have slides, we didn't prepare that, but I can show how Ecomatic connects with Speckle, and it's going to be great for everybody that's here in the room.
Okay,
just one more. Good. By the way, we are digital practice. We are part of the digital practice team at Perkins&Will. I know some people doesn't understand what we are responsible for because we are not BIM managers, but basically we are responsible for developing and implementing any solution or workflow that can be useful for our designers.
Yeah. So the standard, this is our company and this is what we do slides. So we're made of 2,000 designers and 30 studios across the globe. We say global, most of it's in America, to be honest. And then we have 30 digital practice members. So we kind of actually have one member almost in each office, which is kind of an interesting dynamics in how we work together. And then we have about 100 projects where we've used Speckle so far. And now, these aren't like the crazy Speckle workflows that we've seen so far. It could literally just be one small element. And what we're going to talk about is how we kind of go and do that. We are multidisciplinary. We have architecture, corporate interiors, urban designers, and landscapes. What's interesting here is that we all use slightly different softwares depending on our discipline and depending on the office that you're in as well, which kind of makes it all more interesting in how Speckle really helps us.
Okay, we decided to change this slide after the dinner yesterday because now Speckle has a new concept. It's a data hub, and you shouldn't be saying interoperability or collaboration. If you want to sound cool, you should say connectivity. So that's my takeout from yesterday. Let's go.
Okay, so this is the old website, and Sandra's getting really angry for me for showing you this.
Why are you showing this?
But the old website was said built for developers at the bottom, and this is kind of one of the things I wanted to bring up, and that they have a new website now which goes beyond this, and what we're saying is now, Speckle was built for developers, but now it's built for everyone. Everyone can use Speckle. You don't have to be a developer, so please check out their new website. It's awesome, and it really goes into how it's useful for everyone. We kind of start in this situation. I think a lot of people can attest to this, that most people in this room are the digital gurus of your office, whether you're a computational designer, maybe you're the BIM lead, technology expert, or you just like technology. And we always end up in this situation where we go to these conferences, or we go to AU, or maybe we go to Next Build or something, we see a cool tool, we go back to our companies and we go, this is amazing, everyone stop what you're doing, you need to start using this. And then all your architects who aren't that so interested in technology look at you and say, no, I don't want to use it. I'd rather stick with my MicroStation. I don't need Rhino. And we end up in this situation where, we want to pass this. It's like breaking walls, essentially. We're talking to a brick wall. We have this inflatable hammer, and we keep breaking on this wall. We're trying to break down these boundaries. and get people to start using these tools. And what we want to talk about today is how we're starting to break those walls with Speckle. So just like we've seen before, connectors are the first kind of stop. This is the first thing we tell our designers when they join a company. It's, okay, you can use Revit, you can use Rhino. You need to get connectors installed and learn how to use these Speckle connectors to help our workflows. This is just very short. We actually use a lot more connectors than this, but you can see our main ones are Revit, Rhino. We obviously have Grasshopper, which can connect the two as well, and we use Rhino to Rhino quite a lot. Just a brief overview on how people are starting to use these connectors to help their workflows. And yeah, this is just going to go quickly in how we first introduced Speckle to Perkins&Will and how we're starting to get our users to use the software.
So we organize this presentation in 2 levels. The things that are obvious when you use Speckle, and these things, most of them were presented in the keynote, and later on we are showing how we at Perkins discover ways that we can explore the data even further. So whatever we want to develop, and we can get support from this data available in Speckle, we go on for that. And that's what we're going to show at the end with the Speckle hacks. But first, let's go with connection between solutions. We have different solutions in the industry, different vendors, and they don't necessarily talk well with each other. For example, in London, they use a lot of Rhino. They're really strong with that. In Atlanta, my office, we don't know anything about Rhino, but we are very strong with Revit. And both tools, they have their pros and cons. So how can we explore the strengths from each? So for example, facade's really complex, should be developed in Rhino, in Revit, but in Rhino is very good. So we have projects where we collaborate Atlanta and London. London provide the facade, and Atlanta provide the annotation for the project, the documentation. And for that, we use the connectors. This is the workflow. We're going to have massing in Rhino, then we're going to send to Revit and finish the documentation there.
Yeah, I think also with this one.
And we have like 40 projects using this workflow, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of projects using this workflow. But I mean, in this one, for example, if we're doing our massing in Rhino, we'll send it to Revit, and our landscape team, maybe they've edited a park or some trees or something, and we have to go back to the massing team to update it. Or maybe there's some trees now in front of our facade generation, and maybe we're using the Speckle connector, Rhino or Grasshopper, and we have to update and we have to respond to how the landscape are working. And we can do this much easier live using the Speckle connectors, and then we can document it in Revit. One of the really cool things that Speckle have done recently is change from a streams, branches, commits, and change it to project models and versions. So unfortunately for developers and all the GitHub users, this is probably not the best thing, but for us in the AEC, it's made it so much easier to implement Speckle to everyone across our firm. We're using what we already know, so using BIM 360, and for us, we use BIM 360 on every single project. To go to our teams now who don't know Speckle or don't know coding or don't know anything technology-wise, we can say, look, this is how you set up your projects, this is how you set up your models and your versions, and it's very similar. I'm going to talk very briefly about how we set up our Speckle, so we actually set up the projects beforehand. I think it's something that maybe everyone kind of does, but no one really talks about. It may be quite an obvious thing. So we set the project first in Speckle, and then we have multiple layers. So the first layer is having 2 different connectors, right? So we want to exchange one connector to another. Inside those connectors, we have an internal folder and an exchange folder. Inside the internal folder, again, it's your internal team. Maybe you're just using Rhino, for example, and you're just sending things across, work in progress. And then when you're ready to actually share that with another connector, you can put it in that exchanged folder. And this is kind of how we started to set things up. And with workspaces, I think this is a really good opportunity that we can now set those levels. So maybe in the exchange folder, we can just have certain consultants or certain team members that can access this one folder. And in the internal folder, we can just have our internal teams. So to do a real kind of life project example, we have an example project here. And on one side, we have Revit. Again, we don't need internal because they already have the collaboration feature that you can sync. But maybe we just want to extract the massing or levels and families and exchange that across. With Rhino, you may have an internal folder, an exchange folder. Internal, again, maybe you're just developing furniture, or maybe you're doing some kind of facade system and you're just playing around with it, trying to get ideas inside your team. And then when you're ready to send it back to Revit, you put it in this exchange folder. And this is kind of how it looks in Speckle. So you have your connector at the top, internal, and then underneath the internal is where we're actually doing our modeling. And again, we can put those into the different folders. So it's quite a nice way of structuring the models. So when an architect joins for the first time without knowing anything, they can understand, okay, I need to be modeling in here. This is where I need to go to change information.
Okay, use cases. This is the part that I said that the keynote covered most of them, but we're going to go briefly, just remember. Mayur, my friend, asked how many projects are you presenting today, and I said we have so many. But let's try to go quick in the ones that you already know. One use case that I haven't seen anybody covering here is the DAO saving. And we discovered that because whenever we have a task at Perkins&Will, the thing that comes to our minds, at least my mind and others' minds, like, can we solve that by using Speckle? And typically the answer is yes, and this is an example of that. We had a family and was provided by a manufacturer, and they only had version 23. And we needed it because the project was 22. So we DAO saved it and sent back to the project. You guys know Autodesk doesn't allow that, but we were capable to do that by using Speckle and became a standard for us.
Yeah, using Speckle to undermine Autodesk.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we can also do fun things with Speckle as well. So exporting Revit to just Unreal Engine, very quick and easy, and we can just give it to our clients just to play around with. I think everyone's seen, I think it was big architects when they were creating CSGO, and running around shooting each other in their office building. But it's fun. Our internal teams can have a long play around, and they can see the design in a different way, and if you wanted to present to your clients, you can, and Speckle will make this really easy. We also end up in this kind of situation as well. I think we've seen this earlier, where it's just facade massing in Rhino. We need images, or we need to send something out quickly. But in London, our corporate interiors team, they only work in Revit. So again, we can quickly go from Rhino to Revit to exchange images and videos. And then not the last one, but on this one, we created this organic facade. It doesn't look like much because it's a confidential project, so I could only extract what I was allowed. And it's this, we developed something using Kangaroo and Grasshopper in Rhino. Normally we export IFC to then send to structural engineers. It takes a long time and then gets back to us, but we can use Speckle to do that a lot quicker.
Also confidential, but this thing started 4 years ago. It's called Area Sync, very similar to the Area Collab, I think that's the name, that was presented earlier, and also the keynote presented something similar, where we create dashboards in Power BI to track the data coming from our project. At Perkins&Will, we started at home this project 4 years ago again, because one of our best clients, I can't say names, but one of the big tech companies, required us to provide data about the area that they were getting in the model. And this is a project that has been evolving through the time. Victor is here, he's the big daddy of Area Sync. And the thing is, we have it at Perkins, we can share outside, but Speckle came with something very similar and even better available for everybody here. And I can tell this is a big, expensive project from Perkins&Will, and now you all can get access much easier. And it's impressive because then you can track all the data such as area, you can also track furniture, all the parameters that in the future you can collect with precision. So we do recommend it.
Yeah, so like I said at the start, we start with this kind of digital guru. This person comes in trying to create the workflows, and we just try and push it out to everyone else. But the use cases that we've just seen was actually all developed from architects with no coding background, no computational background at all. All they got given were, these are connectors, this is just how it's used, and they're the ones that created the use cases that we can now develop and work on. And I think that's kind of what the key thing for us is, okay, we as one person can try and develop all of this stuff, or we can try and get into the hands of all the different users so we can really understand how we can best benefit the whole office, whether it's local or global in our firm. Yeah, how is this achieved? So obviously we do internal Perkins&Will training on Speckle, and the use cases that you've seen, those are only snippets. We have a lot more, obviously a lot more confidential projects as well, but those are great ways of doing it. And the other thing is trying to inspire the rest of our teams by attending hackathons. For us, we think hackathons are probably the most important thing in our industry, really. We try to attend as a company, we try to attend as many as possible now, because this is where the next big thing is going to happen, right? So, like I said earlier, this is the Zurich hackathon in Zurich. This is the team, so you can see Christian in the background, Victor as well as at the front there. And this is the application that we created. So if you have any questions on this, we can talk more about it afterwards.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about AeroSync, just tell Victor. He can tell you all the cool things. Next, please.
Cool. So the next thing we're going to talk about is beyond the Speckleverse. So this was the Speckle Hackathon this year. 287 participants. I think it was the largest hackathon ever, right? AEC. 23 projects, 7 prizes, and 4 categories. And today we're going to talk about 2 of those. So ARC, I was one of the founders of ARC. We somehow managed to claim first prize in it, which was great. And you're going to talk about AI to Speckle.
Yes.
Okay, so ARC, for those of you who didn't see it, the next generation story of your design. Essentially, we have this kind of problem. If you're a new company, maybe you're a freelancer, maybe you're a startup, and you can't open old new files. You get given a Revit file, you can't open it, you don't have enough money to purchase a Revit license, or maybe you don't have enough money for a Rhino license, how can you open this file? But this is, suggesting that the person who sent you the file doesn't know how Speckle works. You can't have access to the drawings without opening the file, so for you actually can't, it's almost locked out, you can't see it. And then you can't publish automatically. So we're also suggesting maybe, in Speckle, let's say we have a stage 2 deadline or a stage 3 deadline, we can keep uploading the models, different versions, but then how do we save it at the end of each stage? This is a video of how ARC works. It's a CDE platform, really. And essentially, all we have to do is drag and drop the files, and it will automatically convert to Speckle objects. So in this case, we've uploaded our Revit model, we've dropped it in, and we can now see in the view underneath the Revit file. What we do next is then upload, so we drag and drop the Rhino file in. It takes a little bit of time, but then you'll see that this 3D viewer updates and it has both of those models inside the viewer. Something that we didn't have time to, but we really wanted to, and we got really close, was creating this deliverables folder at the top, which exports all of your sheets. So Rhino, we're using Rhino Compute to export all the different layouts that's inside Rhino, and then we use the Autodesk APS API to export all of the sheets from that Revit file into here as a PDF so we can see the sheets as well, which we think is going to be quite a cool feature. I think one of the advantages of this is at the end of a stage, maybe stage 2, BIM models are still deliverables at the end of the day. Let's have a way that we can apply it to one website, and we can keep the structure, whether we need to add ISO standards or anything that will give us a framework to do that. This is what it looks like now. It's a fancy new homepage. So you can sign in with Google. Opens up. And then this is just showing you how we have 2 Rhino models inside, and it's also connected to Speckle, so you can just open up the viewer, and it takes you to the Speckle project. Okay, so essentially what I've just said, is you can drag and drop without the need for software. It's an affordable CDE solution, and it pushes the boundaries of open data. So, and really we're looking at the costs here. So on the first one is the cost of having a Revit license per month, a SketchUp license or an ArchiCAD license, and you can see the cost just trying to open those files for users who maybe can't afford it, against maybe having this Revit module, Rhino module, like I said, with Rhino Computes, and storing it on our web as well. So you can see it's a lot cheaper to have ARC as this kind of alternative for storing these kind of models from Speckle, as opposed to having a traditional CDE platform. This is the team that I worked with, amazing team. Victor, who most people in here know. Ellen, who's our UX designer. Susanna, part of our BIM team. Daniel, who's also a software developer and has also done a lot of work with Speckle, and then myself at the end. So it's currently in development, but you can scan it, you get to see a nice homepage. And there's also a playground feature, so you can actually start practicing and playing around with it as well. It is in development, we do want to expand it. It's at kind of at the bottom of our list of projects that we're working on, but we will get there.
Hey, let's talk about AI to Speckle, which I'm very proud to bring because this is my babe. And I really trust in what we got. AI to Speckle, as the name is saying, is AI to Speckle. Clever. And the idea was born in my mind maybe 4 years ago, but very simplistic. how can we automate design? Of course, everybody talk about that. But I had a very superficial understanding of machine learning. I was like, oh, we have the data. Let's use the data to train AI, and the AI will design for us. That was the idea 4 years ago before getting into machine learning. Then I understood that's not that easy. But at the beginning of this year, I participated in a design competition at Perkins&Will because I wanted to have my hands-on practice using Gen AI, generative AI, in the design. And this competition, we had 3 days, so AI was a great solution because we would have these beautiful renders ready to go without having to go through modeling. We got there, we went to the finals, everybody was impressed with the quality of image that we brought without even modeling the project. But then I realized a really big problem. We have all this generative AI out there, Midjourney, DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, but they are just images. They are not Bain documentation, they don't have Bain data, so how can we transfer this image, this realistic image, into something that we can use? And I also noticed in this project that we completely changed the design workflow. Because traditionally, you start modeling, you go through months modeling something, and at the end, you're gonna have a realistic image that will take months with, like Lumion, renderings, and so on. And that was the new reality. We first started with the render, and then we were like, okay, now we need to copy what the AI suggested us, such as the AI suggested green wall. We're gonna come and model this green wall in the model, right? We need to copy now what the AI suggested us. And at this time, I didn't have any experience with hackathons, but somehow, and I was not even an expert in Speckle at the time, but I knew that Speckle was the mine. Have you ever heard the expression, data is gold? Please raise your hand. Yeah, just so idea. So yeah, if data is gold, Speckle is the mine. We can access the gold there. And I remember I came with this topic in our internal meeting. I was like, can we solve this problem by using Speckle? Again, bringing Speckle to the table, can we solve something? And yes, we could. I didn't know how, but when the Speckle hack came, I didn't have a team. Internally, Perkins&Will didn't want to join because they had other projects. I was by myself just with this idea, which sounds quite weird. But I remember I joined the forum and I described the idea and also put like the team members that I needed, such as I can't develop things. I haven't understood the enjoy like CS50, Harvard, all that stuff, but I'm not the best developer, so I could do by myself. And I described that I need a full stack developer and a machine learning expert. And suddenly, they came, the most incredible team possible, Josie, Marwan, and Abby. We joined the hackathon, we didn't know each other before, and we had such a great experience. And we came with this beautiful product that I will show you now. So basically, we like to see AI to Speckle as an AI assistant that will automate, at the moment, just material search for you, but now it's also 3D element. It automates the design of this shoe for you in your project by, next slide please, by using a sequence of AI workflows. So basically this is how the product was at the end of the hack. We were just bringing materials. I will explain you why we went just with materials. But the AI will generate the realistic image for us just by providing the prompt, such as I want a beautiful room in modern with sofa and wooden floor, things like that. And our AI would go through similarity process and find these materials in the library that we had access at the time. The automation would download these elements and make it available for all the designers so they could bring to Speckle and then send to whatever is the 3D authoring tool that they have. Next. Thank you. So this is their workflow, very simple to understand here. We would have the Speckle viewer. From the Speckle viewer, we had a print screen. And this print screen would be used as base for the Stable Diffusion generate the image for us by using prompt. You could generate thousands of images. If you are good with one of them, we go to the next step, which is AI segmentation. The AI will understand what's ceiling, what's floor, what's grass, what's person, what's chair. And by using that, we would go to the next step, which is the automation. Our automation will search by similarity the elements that were shown in the generative AI image. By doing that, we automatically download these elements, an API, and send back to the Speckle viewer. In the Speckle viewer, you guys know interoperability is not an issue. Connectivity, you can send to whatever is the 3D authoring tool that you are using to model your project. Next. Thank you. At the time, at the hackathon, we only had materials because we only had access to the library that provided the materials. We didn't have access to any 3D element library. They were all closed APIs. They were not open source. After the hackathon, this incredible team, Josie, Marwan, and Abby, we kept meeting during weekends. And we realized, for our surprise, that the 3D libraries out there, they really show a lot of interest in our tool. And I will explain why. At the time, it was not obvious for me. But most of these 3D libraries, and I don't know if I should say names, but the largest ones out there, they are using 3D families provided by manufacturers. And manufacturers, they want to sell their products, which means downloads means more sell. So if we suggest their chairs, their tables in our AI automation, they're gonna sell more because the chair will be there in the design and gonna end in sales for them. So big libraries, they really wanted to sign with us. We are still in a business situation, but we do show that our tool is not just good for the designers, but also good for the manufacturers. This is the beautiful team. They are just genius people, and it was really good to work with them. And yeah, if you guys want to learn more about our project, I do recommend you following us on LinkedIn because we're gonna be posting more about that. And do we still have time?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. As we have time, I maybe can go through Ecomatic and link it to Speckle and how I think is beneficial for everybody. Ecomatic is the project winner of AU Hackathon, the Dynamo Hackathon last month in San Diego. And was a project that the problem came from AI to Speckle. Because when we were going through connecting parts through Speckle, we noticed that the biggest issue in interoperability between different software is the material scheme. Because every tool has a different material scheme, and whenever you send the data, and you guys for sure know about that because of IFC, they don't come with materials. You lose them. So how could we solve that so we make sure that the materials are coming through? And that's what I brought to the Dynamo Hack. Didn't have team again. Show up, no team. We were, the hack started, we had 6 hours to come up with the solution. And we came with this team of 3. Myself, Enrique, and Eamon. Enrique, very good in Dynamo. Eamon helping us with whatever he could. And basically, I see Ecomatic not just as a tool, but as an influence, and you guys gonna understand why. We proved to the industry that you can be sustainable without spending a lot. And when I say spending, it's like cost and time. So what we did is very basic. I don't even need to show slides because basically, we created this script that was connected to Stable Diffusion and data set. Can be any data, you're gonna see how. The Stable Diffusion was providing the images that were used to create the materials. The script was basically taking these images and automatically creating these materials in Revit. But we not just proved that we were smart, but that we were sustainable because we also brought data such as carbon embodied carbon. And next step, we're gonna bring cost. So basically we are automating the creation of materials already with all these parameters that are useful for us as BIM managers or designers. Because now you can take more decisions related to sustainability and also budget. And you don't even to go through searching these things in the web. They are all connected through APIs for us. And we did that in 6 hours. So after the hack, many other companies came to us because they're gonna start developing things similar, such as I'm sure, anybody here is related to like going through embodied carbon, things like that in your company? So far I know, have you heard about TaliCat? It's painful, it's a manual process. You need to go there, search the material, bring the data, and sometimes the data will not be accurate. And basically we proved that you can do that just in seconds. And not just material per material, like you want to get the information related to this wooden floor. You can do by that describing the wooden floor in our script, or you can just bring the spec. The designs typically, they have a spec, a specification list that will provide all the descriptions about your materials. And we can bring like thousands of materials all at once. We're gonna create these materials for you all at once. And how does it connect with AI to Speckle? AI to Speckle still lacks in material scan. We couldn't solve that. So if we can't bring materials, we can use Ecomatic to solve this issue, as well as we don't even need to search materials, we can create them and also bring the data with that material. So for the future, we see AI to Speckle as a hub for AI integration with AC, not just a material search or 3D element search. So if you want to know more about this project, please follow us on LinkedIn. We're gonna for sure be developing it further. And what I noticed, and this is good to be in a great community here, most of these projects we would never be capable to do by ourselves because we need partners, we need collaboration, we need APIs, we need to work together. So if somehow you found something interesting and want to talk with us, please come. We need you. Thank you.
Thank you both. Hello, I'm Mirna. I'm back. You guys didn't really like that joke last time, so I'm trying it again. It's funny because, all right. So do we have any questions for Adam and Jordana? We have a hand up that I can't see. I mean, you're being pointed to. Oh, yes. Hello. Okay. Mirna is coming.
Really interesting projects. First off, Arc.
Yes.
Arc. Do you have to use APS? Can you use something else?
For us, we used APS to connect to Revit. That's in our 2 days that we had. That's what we chose to use.
It's just that if Autodesk deems that you're competitive to their product, they can pull your APS access rights. It's 4.1 in the terms and conditions. So, just pointing out, a friend of mine went to sell his company and he thought, hey, maybe Autodesk could be interested in buying it instead. So he went to Autodesk and they said, oh, selling to another company, we'll pull your APS access rights because it'll be competitive to us. So just be aware that APS, it's also free at the moment. We don't really know how much cost of credits is going to be for certain API calls in the future, but anyway.
Thanks, Martin.
So, this is going to be a Perkins&Will product that you're going to sell to the rest of the industry, or is it going to be a spin-off or a?
Yeah, we don't know yet. We developed it, at the hackathon. We haven't had a chance really to develop it much more beyond that yet, so we've not decided yet.
I mean, the CDE market's quite complex, but it's always welcome to have some company that actually has intrinsic knowledge of the process trying to develop something and selling it rather than pure software programmers. And the AI stuff sounds really interesting. Is there any actual benefit of writing code that plugs into Speckle versus a standalone cloud, something else, or are you just using Speckle for its viewer and connectivity?
I know we can do that with APS, but we decided to go with Speckle. And there are many reasons for that, but yeah, we are with Speckle.
But your conversations with manufacturers, I mean, there's a company called BIM Object was that the company you were going to mention? But
we met BIM Objects, but the ones that offer us the collaboration, it's not BIM Objects yet. It's, I would say, the best in quality library and then the largest library. I don't know if I should say names right now, but yeah.
It's just the whole library world I've been watching this market for far too many years, and it's never really taken off. And the reality is with BIM Objects is that they're normally going back to their SolidWorks or their MCAD system where they've designed the component, the furniture in, and that they really hate removing all of the accuracy and geometry, so they still produce really large models which are kind of crappy to download into Revit. So the market is desperate for a low poly, beautiful alternative.
I think I do have permission to bring here ArcVision. They are the ones in quality, the best quality, because they have real scan. and they also solve the issue of not loading too much in the project. So when you load to the BIM model, to the Revit model, the qualities are like just plans. But when you go to the render, you have this super realistic image because it's real world 3D scan. So they're the best in quality. Don't know if I should bring the best in quantity yet because we didn't sign anything yet, but yeah.
Quantity is the biggest problem, is that I think one of these firms told me that if any single vendor, like let's say Velux, decided to have their entire product catalog converted and created online, it would kill their company stone dead because they wouldn't be able to model anyone else's BIM objects for about 10 years because there's so many SKUs in these products that it's all, the reality is that we won't really ever have full everything in a system. Maybe AI can solve that in many ways, but I'm very interested. I think it's a good effort, well spotted.
Yeah, we're very positive about that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. We're short on time. We're going to squeeze in one more because someone made very direct eye contact with me across the room.
Yeah, following up a little bit the comments, I don't think you are solving AEC problems. I think you're like really producing a disruption because you are changing the way we design. And just a curiosity, is your company measuring the impact, the business impact that you are producing through the use cases?
Sadly, we don't have numbers. Yeah.
I think we measure it in a way that how long would a task take our team to do beforehand and then afterwards. So for example, if we're converting from Rhino to Revit, how long does that normally take if we did it before Speckle and after Speckle? Especially if a team that has no Grasshopper experience or Rhino Inside experience. In that case, it took you 3 hours, it takes you 1 hour now. We can then calculate how much time that took and the resource of that person to use it. So in that way, it can be measured. Whether we've actually done it to that kind of degree, we haven't, but yeah, we can see improvements just based on time as opposed to actually how much we save money.